Go to camera 3. 3. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yep. Graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay. Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that. No music.
I'm going to have to cue Sophie.
Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand for a
10,
couple of minutes.
9, 8, 7, 6,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
Guys, it is now 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Canal Zone time. It is, of course, 2026 now, January 2nd. Happy New Year and happy Friday to you, Ricky.
Happy New Year's, everybody. And yes, happy Friday. Thank you, everybody, for once again joining us. As you guys know, this is the place where sometimes 20, sometimes 30, sometimes 40 of you guys show up. And we hang out and we talk about the Panama Canal. Its history, which tonight we have Dave Dahlstrom.
Indeed.
Its towns, its people, and its traditions. So this is where you want to hang out and learn about the Canal Zone. So we are happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. Willie Benioff, myself, Ricky Royo, both born and raised there. And we bring this show to you guys from the bottom of our hearts. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. And let's start this show with a cheers. Salute to all you guys and to the Panama Canal.
Yeah, and Jim and Diane, Happy New Year to you guys as well. Thank you for chiming in. So yes, of course, as always, first of the month is our history show. Dave Dahlstrom is going to be joining us and have some great history. We're going to focus on the railroad. There's, it's been a lot of stuff recently been posted on, and in all honesty, most of it I think is because of Nodier Garcia. He really posts some fantastic stuff on the Panama Railroad all the time on Facebook, on Instagram, and social media in general. Great guy. He's been on the show, and he's really knowledgeable about the railroad. So it's going to be a fun show. There's a big historical significance to the railroad, in a lot of interesting historical facts, a lot of firsts that sometimes a lot of people don't realize the importance of it with the railroad. And ownership, for example, is one thing that road has changed hands quite a few times, including recently. But back in the day when we talked about the canal and before the canal, because the railroad certainly was there way before the canal, it changed hands along with a lot of property there to accommodate all that construction. So that's going to be a cool story there. That's something as I've been working on that excavating the impossible, that documentary, the railroad as a whole, during construction, the railroad was transformed from a railroad to get people from the Atlantic to Pacific side, and it was now the way of moving all what they call spoil and getting all that stuff out of Culebra Cut and basically making where we grew up in Balboa. All that stuff was marshes and swampy area there, so they filled all that stuff in. Amador, that whole Gatun Lake, which was really the bridge, a water bridge is what they call it now. That was done because of the Gatun Dam, which was a massive dam, required a bunch of that spoil coming from Culebra Cut as well. And so the railroad was really integral in how that operated, the amount of movement. They're talking 200 train loads a day of spoil leaving Culebra Cut. Think about 200 trains a day, and think of the logistics behind that, right? In its era when you don't have radio communication, at least nothing that's, that sophisticated and everything else going on there. And you're not doing this in the United States. You're doing this over in Panama in a jungle. Yeah, in a jungle, no less. So it's the Panama Railroad and the railroad in general has played a really fascinating role, and it's evolved with the canal, and it continues to evolve today with the canal, which is really cool. And now there's another big, huge component of the road now going in the other direction, the east-west direction, where this one's always been a north-south, Atlantic to Pacific. So looking
But
forward
they
to
are
that
going to
as well.
improve that north to south with the new company. I think
Oh,
it's
certainly.
Merck's, right? Merck bought it, or
Yeah.
yeah, Merck bought
And
it.
don't be surprised, Ricky, if in the not distant future, but certainly maybe not near future either, you see another north-south railroad on the West Bank, because
Oh,
that's the
well,
next area for development is
correct.
the West Bank.
Correct.
The East Bank is the ports are already there. There's nowhere else really to put anything, right? Because
That
they're
is
almost all the
correct.
way up to Miraflores. From there, it's a short hop to Pedro Miguel. So you're not going to put anything there. Same thing goes between that is Culebra and then Gatun and stuff. You get to Atlantic. So the only other place for that continued growth, which Panama has, if we've learned with their now, joining Mercosur and everything else, and they have to grow even more as a trading center, is probably to put a railroad on that East Bank or that West Bank.
On the West Bank, yeah, to bring
I would
all the
think.
goods.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
there's a lot of trains in Panama. From the one we're talking about to all the subways. They have 3 lines now. One all the way going out to Chorrera, and of course the bullet train, which will be having a stop at Howard Air Force Base. So that's a lot of trains.
It really is. It's amazing.
But
what's going on with
Willie, I take it like this. You know how we in this show we learned that the train was the most profitable company of the time, right? And that's probably what brought the French thinking. Look how much money those guys are making.
Well, we're going to learn that from Dave tonight. Cause
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. It says,
Yeah.
yeah, man, if those guys are making money, let's put a canal. We're going to make a heck of a lot more money. Because before that, we've from Dave learned that since the 1500s, people have been talking about putting a canal, but nobody does anything, right?
Well, the interesting part was prior to the railroad, a big chunk of that crossing from Atlantic to Pacific was done via boats.
Yeah,
through
those
the
cruises.
And-
Yeah,
and then-
Chagres.
And then,
Right.
and then they, at some point they'd get off in there, that Las Cruces Trail that would go from
Correct.
that area into Panama there. The trail itself didn't go all the way. Well, there was another trail that did go all the way north, but that one went to that Chagres Point there, and then they caught the boats from there and went up the river. So that was kind of cool as well.
It is cool. I mean, it's a lot of history. I mean, that railroad actually made Panama. That's my new thing.
I would think so.
The more I think about that railroad, and well, anyways, we're gonna learn a lot about that tonight.
It gave Panama a lot of importance in the modern day, right? Because the gold rush hit at that time. And again, we're not going to steal Dave's thunder. He's going to talk all
Yeah.
about
This is Dave. This is Dave's talk.
Let's load a couple of people. Michael Day, good to see you, man. Been a bit here. Feliz Año Nuevo. Yes, indeed. Pray everyone had a wonderful. Absolutely, we did. I've had a hectic week. I have plumbing issues. I've had a leak for a while, and timing couldn't be worse right around the holidays. So had to make do with that. Had several of my accounts hacked, which is really, really annoying. I've had no contact in a lot of them. So if somebody's reaching out to you, it's probably not me. Although I did find something that I thought that there was a show years ago on, I forget which networks, and it was an interesting show. It was a reality show, game show, where these people had to escape law enforcement for a certain amount of time, avoid being caught. And it was really interesting because they were being followed, and it was interesting how they were tracked, different things that they could do. But one of the things that I found fascinating was one of the people, the people that ended up winning, the cops, the law enforcement they really showed a lot of ways that they track you. I mean, really, a lot of points on the highway where your car goes by, and they would scan that tag, and next, they look and see what cars are going in. So they really could keep an eye on you. They could keep an eye on all your social media, your internet, your email, and everything. Well, what these guys did was they set up a Gmail account, and they opened up the account on both sides, right? The same Gmail account, but they never sent an email. But when you typed in it like you were going to send an email, the person on the other side would see it because they had the same Gmail open. But the feds couldn't see it because it hadn't been transmitted yet, and so they had no intercepting of it. So they're communicating the whole time. This guy's sitting there going, watching and helping them out and giving them instructions. And I always remembered that. And I've since then with one of my media servers, I've always left an account open like that, and so it's helped me recover a lot of my accounts. So I'm still there. I can't get into my my messenger. I can't get into quite a few of them, but anyway, that's between that and plumbing, it's
Been a
2026
tough week.
yeah, it has been tough, man. That's for sure. But nonetheless, the show must go on, as we say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So
anyway,
yes,
how was your
feliz
New Year?
año, everybody. Feliz año.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good year for us.
Yeah,
What
indeed.
do we got coming up? Anything that you want to talk about?
Well, this next week, of course, we're gonna, in addition to covering the January 9th riots of 1964, we're also going to talk about our year in review, which is going to be really cool. We've been working on that here, going through all the different shows and some cool highlights, some cool aha moments, and other fun things. And then, of course, as the month progresses, our Canal Zone dictionary, HB2 is going to be. He's done filming. He spent most of December and November filming. He was quite busy.
Movie
there.
star.
Yeah, he is, man. It's but he'll be back then, and so that should be really cool. And of course, like we said, Dave's joining us today, and we are going to premiere because it is new to 2026. Dave has a long overdue intro, which hopefully you guys enjoy. It'll be kind of cool to see that. But nonetheless, yeah, we're looking forward to getting some really cool history stuff going there. But good to see you, Jim. Happy New Year to you as well.
Mark Cicero.
Happy New Year. And yes, Canal Zone style indeed. Yeah, Canal Zone style indeed. Salute, everybody.
Yeah, I know. I also got my pin on. I wore my Canal Zone pin.
There you go. I got one of my Panama
Start the
shirts
New Year.
that I got for Christmas. I'm starting to get my gear ready for the holidays. Which, by the way, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek here at something that you're going to find interesting. This is a new, we have some of our logos and stuff and shirts that we have on Sticker Mule and the store that we're getting ready to kind of launch again. But check this out, Rick. I'm going to show you this, and you go ahead and you had some announcements about the reunion. Go ahead and give it those, and I'm going to show you.
Yeah, I will. But before we go on that, guys, it's
schools.
It's about that time to renew your Panama Canal Society memberships. If you get the 5-year, you'll get a nice pin called the Governor's Club. And it's really sharp, guys. So
right on.
Look into getting that. 1 year is fine, but you're not going to get the pin for the 1 year membership.
Right.
So, yes, we got a lot going on. Not a lot going on because it was a slow week. But in Panama, I don't know if you guys have caught on to all the news going on there. The good news is that the Canal reunion is just weeks away. So I'd like to remind everybody, last week we kind of brought it up. We're going to bring it up again since music is a big thing for me. I mean, you guys can all go on the website. You guys are probably very familiar with all the events taking place at the reunion. But the one thing that people don't talk about a lot is how much music is involved with the Canal Zone reunion. Right. So, guys, Wednesday is kickoff, right? The reunion starts on a Wednesday. So, at, I believe, 7 p.m. at Magoo's in Cardenas, Las Vegas with Lisa Palm will be performing. So, that'll be starting the Lollapalooza of the week. Thursday, big night as well. This one's at the Marriott in Albrook Mall. Or in Albrook, near the Albrook Mall. Guys, James Slater and his gang of Spirit of 76 are going to be playing. I remember James Slater played with Viva, so I'm sure all the Viva guys are going to be getting together, and they're going to put on with a party called the Midnight Chicken Coop, which for those of you that grew up before me and know a lot about that bar, which was right next on the left-hand side of the Balboa Yacht Club. I think my senior years was the last year that they closed that in '81. It was totally unsafe. You had, that I recall, you had these railings. On the other side, it was just straight down to the water.
Right.
And the railings were about 2 feet off the ground. They were just like little benches. I mean, anybody could just trip, boop, and go over. But nobody ever did. But, so those are some of the issues that they closed that place down. But so anyways, that's Thursday night with James Slater. Friday, you got 2 shows going on. The Railroad Luncheon, so that's either before or after, or both. After the Railroad Tour at Austin Mama's, everybody's going to be getting together for a great lunch. And that's going to be performed by McCory and Carney Band. These guys are really, really talented. It's like they might have a full band now, but normally there's just the 2 of them playing. She sings, and he plays the guitar, and he's a class of 75 or 76 as well. Zonian got it in Balboa. Austin Mamas at noon. At 9:30 p.m. Friday Night Owl Show, band called Woodstock, which I am sure it's just open mic for all the Zonians to go there and play. And this is at the Canal House, that a lot of us know as at the Balboa Yacht Club. But it's the real name is the Canal House. That's Friday. Then Saturday, of course, the big event. Three areas, three bands are going to be playing. Noon, Frank Preto and La Parranda at the Lobby Bar in Amador. Also at noon at the pool, we'll have DJ Mark C. I wish I knew who that guy was. And then, of course, the big highlight, Shorty and Slim at performing their new EP plus all their hits, of course, at the Canal House as well, the Balboa Yacht Club. So that's the Lollapalooza coming up, guys. Now for the little bit of bochinche news that we love to always inform you of. Well, we had a little bochinche happening in Panama. If you guys all recall when we were growing up, I know, Willie, you recall. All the Canal Zone police definitely recall. When you cross the Thatcher Ferry Bridge and you get to the other side, right, there was that little lookout, that little parking lot lookout. Mm-hmm. I remember stopping there with friends, drink a beer, or with a girlfriend to go chit-chat. But there was always a reason. Absolutely. It was kind of our spot. It wasn't really, hey, hello, good evening. It wasn't really like the spot, but it was a spot to go. So it was one of our spots. And throughout the years, and then I remember there was like a plaque, like a cement slab, dedicated to the bridge. Talking about, when it was built, the bridge that connected the north and the south. So that little monument, if you want to call that, was dedicated to the bridge. It wasn't dedicated to anything else. But as the years went on, right, and the canal got sent back, this became a real popular, not a popular spot, because I don't know if it was or not, but it became important, right, because of its proximity and its view of the canal. So I think in 1997, I could be wrong, with the Taiwan government, they were allowed to put up a monument of some kind, but it was nothing big. And then in 2004, the Chinese community, which wanted to commemorate their 150 years, because remember, they came to build that railroad that we're talking about. Right. They got this monument, Willie, and it grew, and they got a 20-year concession. And it became, a big thing, and but I don't know how big it became, because, you and I have seen a lot of pictures, and it didn't really look like it was tip-top, right? It looks like it was in disrepair. It had been maintained for a while. But what happened was the concession ran out, and the mayor decided that, she'd rather do something else there, being that it's the gateway to the West, is what they call it in Panama now. Howard, Arraijan, Chorrera, right? And sooner or later, that's going to be the second largest city in Panama. Correct. They're probably already there. Remember, the West has modern infrastructure, right? Howard Air Force Base, like I said, the trains, the subway, the new bridges with the tunnel. I mean, there's a lot of room there for future growth that can be planned smartly. Where Panama, you're talking about a city that grew off of something built in the 1500s, right? And so the United States had to come in, and part of the deal with the treaty back then in 1903 was they had to in charge of sanitation for Panama City as well, right? So correct, yeah. You take the West Bank, where this is almost virgin ground there. You could build a city that would rival Panama City in. And they're on their way. Yeah, so for sure. Great point. So this lookout that we all loved growing up has become geopolitical center point, right? Yeah. So the mayor wants to do something else there, so they never renew the concession. So she came at night, but here's the deal, Willie. They had already announced it. They were going to do it. Right. So some media says that it was a surprise, but it wasn't. I think in January. Well, I think just the fact that, like you said, that they had announced it and they knew this was coming. I think they probably expected people to want to take advantage of the situation, and the optics were there that if you're sitting at broad daylight tearing this down,
You got
right,
kinds of
correct. It was
cameras
all
and
hell's gonna break loose.
So they're like,
But,
let's do this at night and be done.
At night, so it reduced the all hell's gonna break loose, but
Yeah.
still all hell did break loose, guys, and
Either way.
it's an international fiasco now,
yeah,
where the poor Panamanian government, I shouldn't say that, but the Panamanian government has to play their political cards, and
Well,
sometimes you got to win some, you got to lose some to win some.
Now in Panama with with negotiations with the ports and the Chinese and Hutchinson and stuff. So it's just interesting the timing there because it obviously feeds those flames of hey, wait a minute, man, this is done to put a little pressure here.
I know. I mean, it's a monument. It's 150 years. So there's, some people are okay with the decision, some people are not, but at the end of the day, they're going to try to, Willie and I read it right before we came on the show. They came out and said, this is new news, by the way, breaking news, that the city of Ayraijan doesn't really own that place, that piece of property, that Caja de Ahorros owns it. So Caja de Ahorros, the banks, right? Caja de Ahorros, the banks own it. So
Caja de Ahorros is Social Security, basically.
Oh, the Social Security. Okay. So they own it. So now the federal,
you're right. Caja de Ahorros is a bank. You're right. Yeah. Either way.
So now there's a new twist. Now they're saying that she doesn't have the right to do what she wants. So now
it's done.
Now Molino's saying he's gonna rebuild it because the importance of the relationship. But guys, it's been a fiasco. We'll keep you guys updated on this.
I honestly just put a plaque there that commemorates the bridge. The bridge that was the first bridge since the canal. Since 1903, that was the first permanent bridge connecting the Americas. Think about it.
Because the other one was a swing bridge.
That was a temporary. You might as well drop a ladder over, and that's the same thing, right? So the first permanent bridge then was the Bridge of the Americas, which, with Thatcher Ferry Bridge, and then that controversy in and of itself. And honestly, in spite of my, all my Zonian rhetoric, I do think that it's more aptly named the Bridge of the Americas because that's really what it is.
Oh yeah, bridge. Did I call it Thatcher Ferry Bridge?
Well, I mean, because that was the initial name of it, right? It was the Thatcher Ferry was what it was replacing.
Yeah, so that's just what came. I'm not picking one side over the other.
This is one of those habit kind of things there. So
so we got some good stuff coming out, guys. This is
gigantic, enormous Carl's corn dog. Yeah, or they're gonna build a Buc-ee's. That's what they're gonna do here in the States.
Buc-ee's, from Texas. I've heard about that.
Yeah, those things are ginormous.
Ginormous, yeah. But we'll keep you guys posted on that. Let's see how where it goes. Next thing Xi Jinping's gonna come and inaugurate the new. The new monument. I mean, it's gotten that high, guys. I mean,
it has.
The Secretary of State from China even said something about it.
Yeah, no,
that's how high it's gotten. Yeah,
it definitely has added fuel to any fires that are there. And again, right now there is a lot of posturing because of all these negotiations. So
I just thought about that. It's true because of the ports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a big deal coming up, guys. We'll keep you
deal.
posted on that as well. All right, man. That's it for the Bochinche news. Let's get on to our historian that we all look forward for this.
We're going to get him on here in just a moment. Of course, we have our sponsor we want to take care of here. Howler Monkey Sauce has stepped up here. As you can see on the bar, we have all four flavors up there: the original, the hot, the amarillo, and the verde. So. We've got several spokespersons there. Chima is almost ready to go. We saw a clip of him, caught him. The guy can ride a surfboard pretty good. So, we're going to see going on there. But nonetheless, we're really thankful to these guys because they're helping support the show and help us do all the things that we do here on Friday nights for you. So
we appreciate it, guys.
Enjoy Mac and his Howler Monkey Sauce edition.
We're still looking for our Howler Monkey Hot Sauce spokesperson. Just got an email from Panama.
You've got mail.
Hey, I'm Mac, and I grew up behind Howard Air Force Base in Panama. I can talk about hot sauce. On pizza, uy, que rico. So I just miro la camera and say, I'm Mac. I grew up in these trees next to Howard Air Force Base. Hey, are we really going to Napoli? Let me tell you, the flavors of ají chombo, garlic, and onions, They each hit you one at a time, and it's so delicious. Howler Monkey Original brings the true taste ají chuembo of Panama to your pizza game.
Do you know a howler monkey who can describe the sweet heat of our original with authentic ají chombo peppers, or the fresh punch of verde where habanero warmth meets crisp bell pepper? How about the bold tang of Amarillo, yellow Scotch bonnets blended with mustard seeds? And of course, our hot, the same great flavor as original, fired up with red habaneros for that fire. Our sauces are all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, pure flavor and pure fire. Are you the next Howler Monkey spokesperson?
All right, so that
Excellent work.
Mac.
Excellent work.
We have Gamboa, and then of course Chime is on his way up. Chime is quite the surfer. That's going to be fun to talk to him. And then we're still on a search for our fourth one, which we have an announcement of how we're going to try and figure that out and let you guys help us decide that. But thanks again to the Howler Monkey Sauce for stepping up and sponsoring us. That's really cool. Another thing, guys, speaking of that, we're getting ready to launch is a couple of different Zonian t-shirts and stuff. Howler Monkey came through. How about it, huh? Which one did you get, Jim? I like the Amarillo, whatever you want to call it, if we're Capiro Ricky. But that one is it's fantastic, man. I love that stuff. It's got a great flavor to it. It actually has flavor, right? You know, a lot of people put a hot sauce and all you have is fire. And you know, I mean, I guess some people like that. I don't know. That's just not my thing. Is to, you know, I want to get some heat and enjoy it, but I don't want to have. I want to taste the food too. You know, so the actual Balboa Yacht Club with 3 Zonians.
Hey, Leaf Soline. Good to see you, brother.
All right. Look at you, Leaf. How's it going, Leaf? How's everything going? Happy New Year to you,
3
brother.
Zonians. Cool.
I'm not a historian by any means, but the thing I remember from the Chinese is the Chinese garden open market, and especially Chinese plums. Speaking of Chinese plums.
Oh, yeah. We were lucky. We had some great Chinese markets.
I ordered these on Amazon the other day.
Wow.
They were $20, a little on the pricey side. It was a pretty good sized bag though, but I've been eating them for a while. And what I've been doing is I've been peeling them carefully, which is kind of a pain.
Mamones or the Asian
Chinese plums. No, the Chinese plums. Look.
Oh, the Chinese plums.
Yeah,
I think about Ginnups. Oh,
yeah,
right
no,
on.
Chinese
they're
plums.
soury.
Yes, that sweet, salty, whatever.
Sweet, salty,
but I
sour,
peel it off, and I do about 5 of them, and I got a big pile of that stuff there without the pit. And then I just chew on that stuff. It's great, man. But they're Chinese plums, man, for sure. Those are awesome, man.
Yeah, so, right in front of Morgan Gardens. That would be a perfect spot, you know, because those guys were there since we were born.
Yep, they were there. The other one was the one over on the way to Corundu Junior High, right before you make the turn to go to Panama. Yeah,
there was a couple. Yeah, that were
good, man. So Jim, you got the green, the verde. Okay, that's who Chima is going to be talking about. And he should be ready next week to come out and debut. But that one's really good as well. That one is good on a good steak. That verde it's got that almost like tomatillo type flavor. But they're all great, guys. Listen, they're on Amazon.com. Just look up Howler Monkey Sauce. Check them out. They're pretty good. But check this out. I want to show you that. Again, this is something we are working on here. It is. Let me see here. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Some new T-shirts that we're going to start rolling out. This new collection. A couple different collections that we're working on here. But this one in particular is going to be the. Let me see here. This is our school collection. Okay. And so this is the first of 2 that we're going to be rolling out here. The front's going to be a little smaller. The property division of Canal Zone School is going to be smaller than that. But then you see there's Cristobal High School. As you can see that iconic image of the Cristobal High School one there. And then the other one we're going to do is same concept there, but there's Balboa High School. Again, these are just concept shirts, but we're going to have a whole collection of all the Canal Zone schools. You know, all the way down to the elementary schools at Balboa Elementary, Diablo, Ancon, La Boca, and Gatun, etc. And then, of course, the high schools and stuff. So,
Kurundu, Clayton, Howard, those guys were good in track. All 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be a lot of fun, but we're going to be rolling those out. It's going to be that and a couple other things that we're going to be coming out with some really cool stickers on the on the towns. Remember those town signs, those
Mm-hmm.
blue kind of trapezoid signs that had the red arrow and the names Balboa, Ancon, whatever. Some cool little stickers for that. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, Jim, you guys are gonna have a blast, man. I wish I could go, but like I said, I had to make a choice. It was a tough choice, but the World Cup being in the United States and Panama being in the World Cup is just I'm not sure when I'd get that opportunity again. So I had to pick one or the other, and so I I picked the World Cup. But my friend Ricky is going to the reunion in Orlando, and so he has graciously said, "Hey, listen, man, I
High
got room
school
for you here,
reunion.
man." So, so that'll be cool. So I'll definitely.
I don't even know what year we're celebrating. I hope it's 40th. 35th will be even better.
I know, right? I'm like, man, we done our 20th yet? Because if I miss it, let's go back to that one. Then,
Oh my God.
we shall see. So no, but anyhow, listen, guys. We're pretty much right on time here. We're gonna bring on our canals and Chris. How you doing? Can't wait to go into 19 days and
Chris Jeffries.
who else was? I thought it was Jim. That's what it was. Okay, got confused with these two. I thought you were on the Kentucky one there. Yep. Good to see you. Happy Friday and Happy New Year to you, brother. Yes, we're on time here. Our historian Dave Dahlstrom is going to join us, and Dave's been on the show now for a bit, and comes on every month, has a fantastic show for us.
Committed.
And Dave didn't have an intro, and that's on me, 100% on me. Ricky's mentioned it several times. I'm like, I know, I got to get to it, and so nonetheless, we finally got an intro for Dave here. So I hope you guys like it, and if not, we'll create another one. But
We
this
can
one, I think
upgrade it,
I think it's kind of cool.
First
It's
take.
kind of
Yeah, it's like
It-
my
it is
restaurant. I'm
Dave,
on design 12.
Yeah.
A week ago, we're on 1.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So anyway,
So,
but
yeah.
enjoy this, Dave, so we can get Dave on here and learn some Panama Railroad history. There's Dave Dalton's Canal.
All right, that's pretty good, man.
What's going on, David?
Not bad. Yeah, especially the end. You and Teddy Roosevelt. I think it's appropriate that you two are hanging out together since you seem to know a lot of what he did and all that good stuff. So, Dave, Happy New Year to you, man.
Happy New Year.
Good to have you back, brother. Again.
Yeah.
So
So I got to say, Ricky, you mentioned earlier that you thought that the Panama Railroad was the one that created Panama, and I think you're right, and I think we'll probably talk a little bit about that today. I was,
I
doing my
never
research
thought about
it,
that
and
angle.
last couple of months we've been doing Benaveria, and the
Yeah.
book that was Benaveria created Panama, and there was a lot to that. But when you look at what the Panama Railroad had involved, Panama Railroad created Panama, and the Panama Railroad that we know is nothing like the one that started.
yes,
All the stuff that happened, the heyday of the Panama Railroad was in the 1850s, 1860s, and what we're used to and what they had, night and day. Even the terrain, everything,
Yes.
different.
And that's what we're talking about
All that
tonight.
up from today.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, that is a really cool picture of him and Teddy Roosevelt. And he's wearing the appropriate outfit, of course, and it makes sense. I mean, if I'd have to believe that if you were back there at that time, you probably would be talking to him about the canal and stuff because you're so knowledgeable about all that stuff. So it would make sense,
We're cousins.
So there you go. So it makes sense. Are you really cousins? It wouldn't surprise me if you are.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit, man. But yeah, that was fun, Sheila. It was cool to do. I'm telling you, the tools out there today. But at the end of the day, you still always fall back on some true and tested stuff there. That last part, that little paper airplane landing on the runway, I tried to get AI to do that, and it refused to. So I finally just did PowerPoint. I just did a little animation on the PowerPoint, and I said, I'll just record that screen, and there you go. So sometimes you go back to
We're doing AI tonight, Willie, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We are research fools. I shouldn't say we. Dave is a researching fool, and now You know, it's I have to believe that he's like a kid in a candy store now because he is now has research tools at his disposal that he knows where to find the information. But now he's got a staff of hundreds of people that he has them find the stuff for him, and it's you
You
can
know,
put some cool stories together with that stuff, Dave. You know, I
that
mean,
engine is really cool. It does limit you to 50 sources, so that's a challenge.
yeah,
But
we've got
'cause
some
we do
workarounds we're
everything.
working on there, but
We dig, just like Canal workers. We dig.
yeah, that's it. That's
But
exactly it.
Oh, good one. Yes, yes,
the
yes.
the downside is that I haven't seen this production for tonight. So and I also don't get to use my notes.
All right. Well, we're
So we're
gonna
doing this kind of blindly, but I think we'll do all right.
yeah, we'll make it work.
But
We'll definitely make it
there's
work.
one thing I wanted to talk about kind of personally today, and today's January 2nd, and today is my grandfather's, or would have been my grandfather's 115th birthday.
Young man. Yeah.
So we usually do happy birthdays on the show.
Happy birthdays. Yes.
So tonight, hey, Will, can you send it to the next
Yeah,
slide?
absolutely. That's what I'm getting ready to do right here. And
All right. So I found this yesterday online. Someone was kind enough to post this photo asking if we recognized anyone on here. And the man on second to the left is my grandfather.
right here.
And he's out in the bush doing his survey work. He started as in the survey's office, Panama Canal, in the 30s.
Wow.
And
Right
we
on.
think that this was out like around Madden Lake when they were doing the surveying for the new canal zone boundary around Madden Lake.
Okay. Right on.
So, all right. And then this was later in the 50s. They were doing the some work at the cut. It was called Project 13, I think, like that. But T-Con was the contractor, and that's my grandfather on the left, and that's Mr. McGee, John McGee's grandfather on the right.
Wow.
Ah, how about that? That's awesome. Right
So,
on. That's really cool, man.
So just want to wish him a happy birthday. And the other thing that that I remember as a kid, him telling me, is that he worked on this bridge construction. You know, the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, or Bridge of Americas.
Yeah.
And he told me that you can see here on the bottom that that grassy area. That's where that overlook is. That controversy that we're hearing about. Where
One right here.
That Chinese.
Yeah, that's it. Right there.
Python or Python or something like that, which
Mm-hmm.
is a gateway, which is symbolizes like honoring or memorializing your history and culture.
Okay.
So I mean, the idea behind it seems pretty interesting. And the other thing, if you recall in some of our past shows, my hypothesis is that the man who named Balboa or recommended the name Balboa was the minister of China that came for a visit in 1909, and his name was called Wu Tingfang. So a Chinese man may have been responsible for naming Balboa. But what I'm showing you in this picture, my grandfather worked on this bridge, and he told me that he recommended that they build an overlook at that location. So he
Okay.
was telling me that was his idea.
Interesting.
So he's probably rolling over in his grave right now, knowing that there's a Chinese memorial there. But anyway,
International crisis.
Well, there was.
but you know, I also learned a lot of things about the Chinese and the construction of the Panama Canal and the Panama Railroad that I didn't realize. You know, we know about the Chinese gardens,
Right.
but you know, really, we don't hear much about the Chinese. You know, we had the Chinese restaurant at the YMCA. I remember the Chan family. They ran that. You know, the nicest people you ever met, and
the best wontons
my,
in the Canal Zone.
my Chinese plums here. I mean, as a kid, you always had a box of Chinese.
Yeah,
plums.
right.
Yes,
Right on. Look at
yes.
you.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that. But you really didn't know about the Chinese and what construction work they had done. But Chinese have been in Panama probably longer than the Americans have been in Panama, because the Chinese immigrated over North and South America with British, Portuguese, and others. They were sent to the Caribbean. They were sent to South America, Brazil, Peru, other places, Panama, and then they went to the northwest U.S. as well. So they they have they have been sending workers, indentured servants. They've been called a lot of things, but they've been doing it for a long time. So there is a presence all over North and South America. Um,
And the other thing that they've apparently used the same menu for Chinese restaurants all over the world for the last 800 years. It's the same numbers. C42 is always going to be fried wonton. It's amazing. It's incredible, those guys, how they do that.
I
So,
don't know about that, but what I heard is that a lot of the Chinese they came from like Hong Kong or Macau or
Mhm.
places in southern China, and that's where a lot of the food that we eat is southern Chinese
Cantonese.
because that's where they originated from.
yeah.
And there's a whole history there, and I don't really know it, so I'm not going to really talk about it. But um,
Well, they
there's
did
some
a
Great history of
census.
the Panama Railroad that you're going to talk about.
Yeah,
I
in the
thought
last census, they came out with 30% of the Panamanian population has Chinese DNA. 30%.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. We can when the Panama Railroad was being built, there were upwards of 6,000 Chinese that came to work
Yeah.
just on the canal. But there had been some that were living in Panama before. I don't know how many, probably just a couple hundred or a couple thousand, but there were Chinese living there for hundreds of years. And then, of course, they brought in a big infusion of Chinese for the construction of the railroad.
Sure.
And they also brought in some Chinese, about 6,000 for the French Canal.
Yep.
The French didn't keep the best record, so so the number is all over the map. And some places say 20,000 came, or even 80,000 people came. So
Wow.
I don't know that they had that many there, but I wasn't there. I haven't seen the records, but all I can tell you is what I can read, and I just have to question some of these sources that when I see it. But I can tell you that if you do a search on it, you're likely to get a number between 6,000 and 80,000. So,
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
all right.
Well,
So they're not going on the next one. The other thing there's this 1955 canal review, and it shows the bridge going across the canal there, and you can see it's like an iron structured
yeah,
bridge. It doesn't
it's
look
definitely no
anything like,
Thatcher Ferry Bridge.
you'd think, wow, how depressing does that thing look like?
Railroad bridge, that's what they call that.
Yeah. But the other interesting part of it is that when I was going through my grandfather's slides in the 50s, he went on a family vacation to Ottawa, Canada.
Right.
And go to the next slide. And he took a picture very similar to this at the Parliament Hill, where the Ottawa, that's the Parliament building for Canada there. It's a beautiful building. But when you overlook it, this is what you see. You see this bridge. And when I saw that, all I could think about with my grandfather there, with my mom and my uncles at this overlook, taking a picture of this bridge looking over the city, is that when he came back to Panama, he showed him that slide, and that's why that bridge looks like this bridge.
Yeah, right. That's gotta be.
And then the overlook, he was there at an overlook, admiring the view.
Sure.
You could think, so it's plausible that story is true.
It could be. It could be, because it's awfully similar, and it's on the Canal Review. It's not on a hand drawn image there. So it's too coincidental. It's exactly the same bridge. Anyway, all right. So what do we got here? This contract.
Well, this was originally the Panama Canal the Panama Company signed a contract with New Granada. As you recall, Panama and Colombia were New Granada in 1848. 1846 time, and it was a French company that came and negotiated this contract with New Granada to build a railroad,
Okay.
and they had to put up like a performance bond. They had to come up
Okay.
with $1 million,
Wow.
and they had a certain amount of time to do it,
How
and
insightful.
they couldn't raise the money.
Huh. How about that?
So so that's where the Panama Railroad, the one that was run by Aspinwall, was able to come in and sign a contract with New Granada.
Sure.
So, but they almost lost out.
Right. Well, and as you can see on the graphic here, it probably helped that you had this sudden craze for
Well,
a rush for people to want to transport. So you could probably raise that money now, that capital that you need for that bond.
well, certainly the French would have been able to, but for Aspinwall, he had just signed a contract with the Navy, the post office, to carry mail because
Oh,
around 1846, 1848, the U.S. was fighting the Spanish war with Mexico,
right.
and that had just ended. And that's how the U.S. acquired California. And also, the British and the Americans agreed to share the Oregon Territory. They divided it up between British territory. So if you look at Vancouver, it's British
Right.
Columbia,
British Columbia. Yep.
um, and the U.S. got Oregon and Washington in that agreement. And so you had two huge parcels that were now annexed into the U.S. California
Right.
didn't become a state till 1850. And then in 1848, the gold rush.
Yep.
So Aspinwall had already signed a contract to take mail down to Panama, transport it over the isthmus, put it on another ship, and take it to San Francisco and Oregon.
It's interesting. The mail has played a huge role in creating industries, and going way back to what Dave's talking about here with the railroads. And then you fast forward about 60, 70 years later, the mail is what really got the airline industry in America going as well, because all these early airlines, their first contracts to be viable were mail contracts with the US government to move mail around. So it's funny how the mail has played that role that has created these enterprises in these industries that have been so pivotal.
And where was the first commercial mail delivered to?
In the U.S.?
Or I guess international, because we talked about that on the show, to Panama.
Well, it probably went through Panama. But you can go online and you can see images of the first letter that was transferred across the isthmus. They have a image of it.
Right. That's interesting.
And they have even the second letter and stuff, and even the ships that went. And then also the Pacific Steamship Company, they got the contract to send the mail to over to Hong Kong.
Okay.
So the Pacific Mail Company was bringing Chinese immigrants over on those journeys. So they were the largest importer of Chinese immigrants at that time.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And then in the 1860s, there was a in the 1850s, there was issues with bringing in these territories as free states or not.
Sure. The whole slavery issue hadn't been resolved.
Right. But what they ended up doing was that they had like a Chinese exclusion act that basically wouldn't allow the Chinese in. And a lot of the foreigners that came over for Gold Rush, they enacted a foreigner tax. They had to pay a tax, and it was just too expensive. And so a lot of them just didn't bother coming.
Wow.
And some of the Chinese that stayed ended up having to do other jobs. They opened hotels or restaurants or
sure. And I imagine, people probably took advantage of that anyway, because it was, in the sense that.
So But the Pacific Steamship Company, they had their wharf in San Francisco, and the the locals were very anti-Chinese, and they had a militia. They said of 6,000 people that went around and tried to burn the wharf down
Wow.
and set fire to Chinatown, and they were very anti-Chinese at that time. And
Okay.
but the Pacific Mail Company survived, and one of the ship's surgeons um, ended up being on on a ship that would go from San Francisco down to Panama and then back. And this was around the 1880s because the French were there, and he started his company on the side to bring tobacco and coal and whiskey and stuff, and that he wasn't making money doing that, and he ended up uh, bringing dynamite down, and he sold that to the French company. He sold it to Buenaventura, made a
Of course.
lot of money selling dynamite, and then he had the great idea that he could import Chinese workers because they needed workers. That
Mm.
he could bring in 5,000 Chinese workers and make $5 a head doing it, and he'd make $25,000 in gold. At that time, would have been millions of dollars.
Millions. Yeah. Heck yeah. No
Millions
kidding.
of dollars. And the other thing that had happened around that time is that the we talked about the revolutions in Panama and the Pedro Piston and the fires and stuff.
Yep. Yep.
But in 1888, I believe it was, the Jamaican barracks in Cologne was attacked, and 18 Jamaicans were killed and 20 were injured. And the governor of Jamaica basically said, "Come home," and they said 8,000 Jamaicans left.
Wow. That's creating
And
quite a
so to
vacuum
make up
quickly.
for that difference, so they brought in a lot of Chinese, and
Yeah.
then they brought
Sure.
in the Irish, they brought in Indian, they brought in German, English, French, Austrian
Wow.
to come make up that gap. So they needed
United Nations there in
they
Panama.
needed they needed people.
Till today is a
And
melting pot.
Yeah, that it is.
so
Always has
those
been.
are some of the background stories about that time early on before um, the French
Sure.
came.
Right.
And then these are pictures. This is the contract that was signed, and you can find those online if you want to read it.
Right.
But the original contract that the French company, the French Panama Canal Railroad Company, their lease was for 99 years, but
Okay.
they couldn't make up that deposit. And so
Right.
when the U.S. company came in, I guess the New Grenadians got smart and said, "Hey, wait, we're not going to give this away for 99 years. So we're only
Yeah.
give it 49 years,
Sure.
and we want $1 million up front, and we want $250,000 a year." And back then, that was a lot of money.
Heck yeah, it was.
And New Grenada didn't have money. They'd gone through all those civil wars and such, and so
Sure.
the Panama Canal Railroad was the money source for New Grenada. And of course, the money went to Bogota.
Right.
It didn't stay in Panama. And we talked about that before. Is that
Mm-hmm.
all these payments went, to the other
Government.
province,
Yeah.
and Panama didn't really share in all that.
Right.
So there was always that animosity as well. Colombia was, it was close, but it's still far away.
Sure. Sure. Panama was always that renegade province.
And
Well, Darien Gap made it far.
Yeah.
so
So what are we looking at here? This railroad, this North America in 1868. So now, so the railroad's been built now, and
yeah, the railroad's been built, and so the U.S. is needs railroads, and they had need for railroad cars and stuff. So this is an engine. This was built in 1868, and this is called the North America, and this was built in Maine.
Oh wow. Okay.
And if you go to the next slide, That's the same engine, and it's kind of hard to tell, but it's in the snow.
Yeah, certainly. Oh, you
So
can,
they
yeah, you can see it on the roof and on the carts on the
Yeah,
right there.
so they shipped this railroad car from or train engine from Maine down to Panama. This wasn't, of course, the original train. The original trains were very small,
Yeah.
and under contract they were bound to make that journey across the isthmus in less than 12 hours.
Isn't
That
that
was one of the
incredible?
stipulations.
Yeah. So you're not really moving all that fast, but
Yeah,
you're
the
moving
one,
along and you're moving while you can sit and ride as opposed to trekking through jungle. So
hey,
either
did
way
we
is worth it.
did we show the steamship?
Not yet.
Okay,
Trying to figure out where that's at here.
heck,
'Cause
well,
I
it
think,
should have been first.
let me go back to
Would
it.
have been first before there.
Oh
No,
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm sorry. We did. We just passed it right here. There you go.
there it is. So you were talking before, the ships came to Panama first. You traveled across the isthmus by boat. They either by a like a dugout canoe that they called a bungo,
Yep.
and then eventually they brought steamships. And so the Aspinwall, you can look at the letters from John Stevens, and he talks about buying a steamship for $18,000, and they've got it in there. But the steamship would come from Chagres, and it would go up the Chagres River and basically come to where Cruces, which is Gamboa
Right.
area, and then it would basically stop at where Las Cruces Trail is, and then they
Correct.
had a road that would go from there into Panama City, and a lot of the folks would come across by mule.
Correct.
And Stevens talks in his letters that original plan was that they would have a horse train. So I guess it would probably be cars that were pulled on a road by horses,
Okay. Interesting.
and that it was going to be just cheap.
Yeah, and to give us
Bad
more
idea. Bad
perspective,
idea.
that
And
whole Chagres, the other side of it, the Atlantic side, would be where Fort San Lorenzo is, and actually just a little
Exactly.
west of that.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
would crisscross what the canal is today.
Right, and there was a little village there,
Mhm.
at that village, and then at like Marachin, Gargona, and Cruces, there were local vendors that had restaurants and hotels and stuff, because the ships that picked these people up and went to San Francisco, they only came about once a month or every couple of
Oh,
weeks,
okay,
so you
interesting.
had to hang out for a while.
Sure.
And if the trip across the isthmus didn't kill you, you still had to wait.
Now, Dave, let me
Yeah.
ask you, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head or not, but how did the rainy season and dry season impact that?
Well, I'm sure that when there was floods, you couldn't move. You had to
Right.
wait for the river to recede, and then
Yeah.
if it was dry season, you had to
A
hope you
lot
had
of it was
enough gas,
inaccessible.
or you would use the bungo, which probably
Right.
doesn't need much more than a couple inches of water.
Yeah. True. True.
Um,
Probably
so,
reduce the amount, the capacity, of course, and so
but
by
in
dry
the
season is probably a little more expensive to move things.
in the last presentation I did, I talked about this Jamaican woman that was like a a nurse, a doctor that treated a lot of people for cholera, and she
Right.
lived in Cruces. They had a hotel, so there were local um, Panamanians that were creating businesses, selling
Sure.
food, selling lodging, selling supplies, transportation. But when the Panama Railroad came in, the Panama Steamship Company would bring people down from New Orleans or New York, wherever they came from, on a U.S. steamship, get on the railroad, a U.S. train, and bypass all that.
Correct.
And then also, the Panama Railroad was given rights to the land around the railroad, and 250 acres of land for terminals on either end of the canal. So that
Right.
was all theirs. And if you look at the old pictures of Panama City and you see like where the fish market is,
Sure.
all that used to be Panama Railroad
Yeah.
areas, and that was private land. And so people could come and cross the isthmus in less than 12 hours and bypass all that. So the local economy tanked.
Sure.
All that money, the $25 that these guys were making for a trip, was going into their pockets. and leaving the country. The other thing too is that when in the 1840s, when people were trying to cross, they either could go around the Cape Horn and spend 6 weeks doing that, or they could come across Panama and risk their life and do it in a much shorter period of time. There was only about a dozen people that would do that a month, so it wasn't very common. But by the time the railroad was built between 1850 and 1860, they had 400,000 people cross.
Wow.
So that's about 10,000 people a month.
That's amazing.
So can you imagine? Have you ever seen 10,000 people on the Panama Railroad in a year when you were there?
No, not at all,
Can
man.
you imagine every month? You know how hopping that place was? People just coming and coming and coming and coming and going.
It's the most expensive company in the world.
Yeah. So the railroad was making a lot of money on the passengers. $25 gold was, I think we did the math before, it was like $3,000 today.
Yeah.
And
people were paying in gold and gold dust.
And also when the gold that they did find came back and they put it on freight, they had to pay a percentage of its value.
Right.
So the Panama Railroad was one of the most productive stocks, because it was a Wall Street.
It was a moneymaker. It was a darling.
Moneymaker. It was one of the largest moneymakers in the world at that time.
It would certainly be a blue chip stock.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like getting NVIDIA, right? I mean,
right? Yeah, no kidding, man.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
So it was very, very profitable.
Yep.
And so these are the three principles you see on there. Aspinwall. I don't think Aspinwall ever came to Panama.
Isn't that amazing? And he's got his name over everything.
He's like, just give me my money.
Right.
I'll make the deals.
I mean, he had a city and then he got rid of it. Poor guy.
He was like the Warren Buffett at the time. I'm just going to make the money, and
he don't need to be out there. He just needs to have his name on it.
And Chauncey, he died in like 1861, so he didn't live a very long life after this. And Stevens, he died in 1852 from yellow fever. He was down in Panama, and he died of it.
So I wonder if their agreement left whoever's surviving keeps it all. And
he probably had stock in it, and whatever stock he had went to his family. But
right,
yeah.
That's
so
interesting.
So then, these are just the contracts that they had. So what's the next one we got? These are the trains. So some of the new. Go back. This is another train. I forget the year on it, and you can't really read it on it. But the name of this train is called the Ferdinand de Lesseps.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
So this would be one of the French.
So certainly in later years, because this guy wasn't prominent until after the.
Yeah, it's hard. Some of these things don't have dates on it and stuff like that. But what I wanted to do is just kind of show you the types of trains that were there in the beginning. We don't have photographs of the early stuff.
Right.
There's some sketches, but
yeah, it's
kind of like this AI stuff. It's probably based on reality, but it's not what's there.
Exactly. They refer that now as hallucinations.
Yeah,
is the AI term now.
Approximations. Right. But then I did find like this image, and this says that it's the area around Frijoles.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is the original line. So this, I guess, would kind of give you an idea if you were traveling early days.
Sure.
Maybe this was even closer to.
Well, this one, it says it's 1912. So this is obviously the canal has been built or is being finalized, because that sort of looks cleaner and there's multiple lines there. So this is the beginning of the end of these places.
Well, we stopped at Frijoles, on the Panama Railroad, and this is what it looked like in 1912. But a lot different than what we know it.
Yeah.
And there was a little town. It's probably a little underwater now.
Sure.
This part.
Sure.
All right, so we're going to the next one. And then this would be on the line. I think this is
Bispo. Yep.
And that's just a little bit south of Balboa on the west bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Teddy Roosevelt is taking that picture in that steam shovel.
Oh, okay.
Was Bus Obispo. If you went into the cut right there, that's there. But you know, there's not a whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah, right.
And the next one, again, no date on this, but I would imagine that this is an earlier version. You know, we certainly never saw anything like this when we traveled on the train.
No, definitely
But
not.
when you read letters and stuff of people that traveled across the isthmus, and that's what I keep on saying, I'd love to see like what people wrote home about and stuff. But this one lady wrote in her diary they're going to California, and so she writes in her diary that, you know, we get on this train and we go down they call it the line. You know, there's just one way, and everything is like built right next to the train because that's the only way you get around.
Right.
You want to be right next to it. And she talks about all the graves that are lining the side of the railroad. I would imagine it's not in the towns and stuff, but probably in the area between Gatun and Frijoles and all that swampy area and stuff. You know, 12,000 construction workers died during the building of that railroad. And then they say, you know, one body for every tie.
Man, for about 100 years there, Panama was not a place you wanted to go, man. For about
It seemed like that. Like, yeah, if you went there, you went there to die.
Yeah.
If you had insurance and you went to Panama, your insurance was null and void.
Yeah. I would make sense because you're going to be cashing out 90% of the time.
And I always say, based on my research, it seems like a third of the people that went there died. A third got malaria or yellow fever and survived it, and then a third never got it.
Right.
Is there a monument to the workers in the Canal Zone? Do you guys know anything like that? Do we have anything that commemorates all those workers?
Well,
other than the French cemetery,
the one in Culebra.
The plaque that was in Culebra, now it's at the base of the admin building.
Oh, that's right. They did move that there. That's right.
And now at the Causeway, there's one for the Spanish workers.
Yeah.
The French kind of have the French Plaza.
And they had one for the Chinese at the Overlook, but it's gone now. But
well, I mean, exactly. That's what. And you know, when you look at the numbers, we always hear about the West Indians and Americans and the large numbers, but on the U.S. total, there's not a whole lot of Chinese that show up on that roll, but on the Panama Railroad and the French Canal, there's a lot.
They showed up, yeah.
They were.
I guess by the time the Americans got there, they already learned their lesson and thought, you know what, we'll do the side business, stay out of the digging. Because we were looking at some maps, specifically the town for the Spaniards. And we noticed there was, Chinese restaurants, Chinese laundry, etc. So that tells me that, instead of digging the canal, they were providing side services.
They were the merchant service, support service.
Merchant services, yeah.
The Chinese.
So that counts. That counts.
Yeah. Well, they if you look on some of the old maps like in Cologne, they have Spanish Town, and one of the names that was called Chinese back in those times was Coolie, Coolie, and you'll see on the map Coolie Town, and so like I mentioned before, like the Jamaican barracks and stuff, they probably had, each like nationality probably had its own little area.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
And again, 1850, we haven't even had the Civil War yet. Right.
There's still a lot of segregation and a lot of.
Let me tell you this. One of the things that I found is that a lot of the people that came, the Southerners that came to go on the gold rush, it's reported that many of them brought at least one of their slaves, took them with them.
Okay.
To California.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why wouldn't they?
And one of the things that they said, the local black population in Panama, they would try to convince the slaves
the desert.
Yeah. Like, hey, even though slavery wasn't illegal in Panama,
nobody practiced it.
They said, you go. But the Panama Railroad, it's reported that the Panama Railroad wanted to hire slaves for labor.
Wow.
But guess who paid the bills? Wall Street.
Yep.
New York,
Nope. Of the Northern.
it was not politically acceptable for those investors.
Sure.
So
They were abolitionists up there.
they said no.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah,
they
and
needed
Panama's
employees.
got
They
the
needed workers.
Bayano history. You know,
They
the
needed workers, and that was one of the things. So, one of the things too, we talked about the Chinese and the mail ship, Panama Steamship Company.
Mm.
They sent over in 1854. They needed workers. They sent their fastest ship was called the Sea Witch,
Right.
and they brought back 700 um, Chinese workers. And back in those days, a lot of the Chinese and stuff, they were on opium,
Mm-hmm.
and the Panama Railroad was supplying these workers with their opium. Then
Yep.
they realized it cost them like $1 a day to support that habit, and they're like,
Yeah.
"We're going to stop it." Well, you can't cold turkey stop opium from an opium user.
Yeah, I read that there's an area there where they would commit suicide. I think that's what they called
They lived in
Mata.
Marachin area,
Yeah,
and
Marachin.
and the story is that about 400 of them committed suicide
Because
and
of
it
the
was
opium, because they couldn't get opium. They just
couldn't
went,
get it. They're basically going through withdrawals and
Yep.
they'd rather commit suicide than do it. But it's really gory, the details you read about what they found. Um, but then the other 300 that didn't die, they sent them to Jamaica and swapped them for slaves.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
So these are things that I've never heard this stuff, but when you read it in the
Right.
book, and
it's
um,
history, so it's good to talk about
it's
it.
there. So some people talk about it, and other people say it's you know we just didn't learn this stuff.
No,
And
no,
it's
that
there. I
definitely
mean,
didn't.
that the Panama Canal, especially between Chagres and Atlantic side, completely different terrain from what we know it.
Right.
Completely different. And even now we know all the dredge and spoils that was filled in there, but those are some of the things that you can find out if you start digging into what happens. And
Sure.
um, it's just we always hear that first thing, well, the Panama Railroad opened in January 28th, 1855. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing it this month, is because it'll be the 171st anniversary of it.
That's correct.
But that's what you hear. It opened on that day. It's 47 and a half miles long. It was built by Aspinwall, and that's it.
Right.
12,000 people died, but we never really talk about who died or all that other stuff and all the hardships they went through.
Yeah, that's
But
correct.
and the working condition that these guys went through was amazing. But I guess what you have on the screen is one of the French trains that they use, and this would be more for the construction of it. But the interesting thing I saw about this one is that this particular train they sent to the San Francisco Exposition. So, Ricky, it might be in your backyard up there. I don't know what they did with
That's just
very
it.
across
near.
the street. I'm so
It might
lucky.
be
Man. I
there.
live just a block away from all that. No, they don't have any trains that I know of.
But you just don't throw those things into the lake. I mean, it's probably around somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably around. You're right about that. Somewhere.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be interesting, this whole Panama Railroad thing, because it's there's a lot of different aspects to it, and this is something that we're going to bring over a series of shows, because there's a lot of really important details as to different phases to this Panama Railroad, because the early phase, which was the one that was for the 49ers, right, for the gold rush, then from there it it's a slow phase, and then it went into French ownership, as part of the deal for them to build the canal, and then turn around, and obviously, as we know, that all ultimately failed, and then the United States came in, and so again it changed hands, and the role of the railroad changed again dramatically. So it's going to be really interesting to see all of that stuff play out, and see exactly what was going on there, and this will kind of give you a bit of a a longer history of it, more condensed, so that then we can start working our way into all these individual stories that Dave has here for us. Because, in all honesty, we don't do the railroad justice trying to get this all in one segment, because there was a lot of different phases to it, and each one of them, just the initial building of it, there's a lot of stuff there that Dave was going over with me earlier on just that process, the amount of people that died, what they had to overcome to do it and to build a road. And again, think about 1850s. The technology is hell. It was a struggle in 1900 to build a canal and all that stuff. Imagine the 1850s, what you had with a place that had zero development. At least when the Americans came in, some of this was already built. Some of this groundwork was already laid out there. So
A lot of it was by hand too, for what I understand.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
I mean, it was swamps. Some of those soils, the swampy soils, they had to put in pilings to make the ground stable.
Right.
They had to put pilings down over 180 feet before they hit rock.
Think about that. That's incredible, man. That's more than the elevation that the canal lifts ships. If you think about that, that's massive, man. That's a lot. That's
More
big
they had
time.
to dig down.
Yeah.
Some spots, they call it alluvial deposits, basically moved by water. So when back in the day, the Chagres River used to be a torrent of stuff. So all that debris would come down. There's over 300 feet of alluvial soils in some places where it's just basically sediment that's piled up over the year, over the millennium.
Yeah.
That Sosa Hill was an old volcano. Will.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a dome.
Yeah.
It's a volcanic dome.
Wow.
And everything around it eroded away, but the rock stays behind.
And that's fascinating. That's
So,
amazing.
It
Wow.
just takes eons to do it.
Sure. Kind of like the Delta down in New Orleans, that area there. That's the same thing. It's just bringing it over time.
All that soil that comes over time. And
Yep.
if you were trying to, probably build in New Orleans around the Mississippi, you probably have to put pilings in down there too.
Sure. And you think about it, railroad is a very, very heavy, item, right? I mean, these locomotives weigh thousands of tons and all that steel rail. So you got to have firm ground to sit on, or it's all for nothing. It's not going to work.
The original bridge that they built 170 bridges on that first railroad.
Wow.
And
That's
the
amazing.
longest bridge was the Barbacoa Bridge.
Right.
It was like 1,000 feet long, and similar to the one that we see at Gamboa.
Right.
And it was an iron bridge. The original contractor that they brought down to build that bridge, after a year, he couldn't do it, and so they had to bring someone in else to replace him. But it says that they needed 7,000 workers alone just to build that bridge.
Wow. Well, here's some of those images there of
All right.
that early bridge there.
This
Wow,
is
look at that.
this is the Gamboa Bridge.
Right.
So this is
It's the same one we have today?
yeah, this is looking from West Bank. Wow. And what you can see on the bottom is like a wall, because they're diverting the river to make it go
Okay.
towards Gatun, and they're building you can see the pipes. They're building that dike. Remember we had the dike explode? So this is what they're doing. You can see the crane there, and they're putting all the pipes in so that they can open the valve and let the water flow after they
So
finish.
if
digging.
you're looking to the right from here, if you face to the right now, you're looking at not Culebra, towards Pedro Miguel.
Yeah.
Okay.
That-
Very
yeah.
cool.
And so this is basically they've channelized the Chagres right here, and then there's a bend in it that starts going north.
Sure.
But this is the new bridge that they're building in Gamboa, and so this is the U.S. doing that, and this is that bridge under construction. So this is a little bit before that picture,
Okay.
that first picture. So you can see they're building that bridge. They haven't channelized it yet. They'll come in later and put that channel in.
Yeah.
And then the next one, and there's even a bridge next to that bridge.
Yeah.
You see
That's what
that?
I'm saying. There's an older bridge right next to
There's
it.
an older bridge there. So that was the original bridge, one of the 170 of them that they built.
Sure.
And then they took that one down, and that's the area where you would drive your car over.
Right.
right? But
And I
before there
imagine
was,
at this point they've figured out, hey, listen, we got a lot of spoil to move. We need to upgrade all these bridges, and they're going to be
yeah.
moving trains over this hundreds of times a day.
And when they designed this bridge, they didn't have cars.
Right. Yeah, right. Very true.
So,
That's so funny.
so this is even before that picture. This
Wow.
is the Chagres River.
And you can see that's a pretty good sized river. And imagine during the rainy season, that's all built way up and it's really moving.
So can you see the tracks, how they're curving to the right there?
Mhm.
Yes.
Go back to the other one. See that track on the bottom?
Yeah.
I think that's the same track.
It makes sense.
And so this is, they're moving stuff around to build that, and there's nothing there. I mean, that looks nothing like Balboa that we know.
Yeah, so those tracks curving to the right there, again, that's train that you see on the far right there is heading towards what would be eventually Pedro Miguel in that area.
No, that's going up to Chagres.
Well, the Chagres is going up the other way, is straight. Is what I'm
That's
assuming.
because the
See, that's what I'm thinking. That this picture here on that little peninsula of dirt and trees there, I think that's where this is being taken here, a little further over. But in other words, I think this bridge going over is going over this way, right there. And I think they built the wall here, and this is where the water turns and goes this way up.
It's hard to tell, but that's one of the points I'm trying to make here is that it looked a lot different back then.
Yeah,
and
certainly.
so they went and they designed these things and they built these things. They need a lot of people to do this stuff.
Yep.
And then this is one of the the old lines. This is Gorgona. I always put Gorgona in because that's where my great grandparents lived.
Home.
But you can see the old train. This is the pay car there. But if you look on the right side, you can't really see it in this image. It's the Gorgona shops, and it's hard to tell, but behind that building on the bottom, it's just lined up with locomotives.
Yeah, you can see them there, all curving all the way along the line there.
There must be 50 of them in that, and
Yeah,
that's where my great grandfather worked at the Gorgona shops, where they repaired trains and stuff like that. But there's just tons of them, and one of the things that I heard about, with all the trains and all the construction that was going on, like in the cut and all the dynamite and stuff, a lot of the workers became hearing impaired, deaf.
Wow.
They couldn't actually hear the trains coming. And
Sure.
a lot of people, at some point, there were more deaths from train accidents than there was from yellow fever and stuff.
And that train's blaring
Yeah,
that
they
horn
don't-
away and nothing.
Yeah, and you hear stories about how many workers were killed, either dynamite explosions or getting hit by trains.
No kidding.
And it's a fact. It just happened. And then I saw this old train, and it says Gorgona shops on it, so I thought that was cool because I
Yeah.
thought maybe my great grandfather worked on that.
Probably.
So,
I would
but
think
these
so.
are some of the old trains that you see. And then this is Bassapispo area in the track.
Okay.
In the background, you can see one of those tall Balboa trees
Oh yeah.
sticking way up over there.
Yeah, look at that.
And
Very iconic tree.
just very, we never saw this on.
That's a
and this is
square
West
tree?
Bank. This would be West Bank.
Yeah.
Balboa tree is a big tall tree, and then it just has a little canopy at the top. Looks like a little,
It's so cool. Everybody has this.
But it does
Zonian
look like
history, man.
the square tree. A little
No,
bit.
so when it had just almost a bare trunk all the way up, where you really at the top is where all the branches flourished out with the
You
leaves.
go up like 150 feet before there's any
Yeah,
branches.
yeah. It was like a
We
whitish,
had in Hollywood
wasn't it? Like a
before.
whitish gray trunk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like sequoias.
they're kind of like a sequoia, right?
In
They're
essence,
like
yeah.
tall.
Except the tropical leaves versus pine needles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's a good comparison. That's interesting. But no, listen, that's really interesting. I next month there, and Dave, I think we'll do what the actual construction of the original Panama Railroad, right? With the people involved there, what it took to do that, what the actual undertaking was to cut that first path through these jungles on the isthmus here, which then obviously would be very foretelling of what's coming 40 years later,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to that because there again, guys, that's like Ricky said earlier, and Dave reinforced it. The Panama Railroad really is what what gave Panama the identity and the need. And timing couldn't have been better to have that gold rush there, because suddenly you had a major need for that, and you could cut 8,000 miles down to what, 2,000 and change. Huge difference there, and
So, well, you were right on that. The original Panama Canal railroad was for moving people, but then with the canal construction, it became moving dirt.
Yes.
Soil.
Oh my God, yes.
We added 200 trains a day, double tracking, and others. I think when you see these double tracks, it's the relocated stuff and the John Stevens work that moved trains, because they were getting strangled by too much dirt. You had to get the
correct.
You got to move it.
You had to move it. Absolutely.
You can only dig as fast as you can get rid of it.
200 trains a day were running what they call spoil, which was all that dig out of there. And they transformed that railroad from what they acquired from the French, who had acquired it from the US before, was vastly different. And then, of course, as the canal progressed in growing and digging, you had to keep moving the railroad anyway. So it was something that was constantly being shifted and moved. And that one alone will probably be 2 episodes just on the railroad for construction, because I did something when ChatGPT first started getting really popular. I started fooling around with it, and I had about a 45-minute commute to work every day. So I ended up putting it on my phone, where you have the live ChatGPT agent. You can talk back and forth and be very conversational. And we had an entire conversation on a typical train running from Culebra and getting all the way out to Balboa to dump the spoil and come back. And it was fascinating with the stories that it told me of what it would do, where and when, and how many, today's point where, people going deaf and whatnot, but you had people out there that were paid to do nothing but do signal operation and basically manage trains all day long, because you had to stop one here and have another off track here to park it while the next 3 came back this way with spoil on them before that one could go back. But the goal was to always have that steam engine, that steam shovel, not stopping. It would keep filling, and when that last one was dug and it was rotating around, that train pulled out and the next one pulled, kind of like Disney, right? And the monorails, the one pulls out and the next one pulls in behind it. And that was the model of efficiency they were doing. Yes, let the dirt fly, indeed. And
you didn't pay these guys to stand around.
No, sir, they did not. And you had to have, and all of that was predicated on that railroad running efficiently, or otherwise the entire operation came to a grinding halt. It's fascinating. That piece alone, I'm excited to hear what that's going to be like, because as you can see on this graphic here, there's a big history going from the gold rush in the 1840s, late 1840s, to Canal, and even what you have now, that is now become a freight moving operation to support the canal. So it's the Panama Railroad is like a cat. It doesn't die. It just has a lot of lives, and there's a new one comes out every so often. But
yep. And the Canal Zone Reunion has the great tour, so there's gonna be a lot of Zonians gonna be taking this tour. I hope they all realize the history behind what they're on.
Go to my last slide.
Which one would that be? Let's see.
It's the model train.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Let me pull that one up here.
This one just one of the interesting things I found when you're doing the research. If you want a Panama Railroad model train, like a O-scale train, you can buy one. But they also have they call it a dummy engine. It doesn't have moving parts. It's just something you put on display.
Right.
They have one. It looks exactly like the Panama Railroad car that they have now. This one is called the Rod Carew.
Oh, right on. Look at that.
Rod Carew was born on Panama Railroad.
Yes, he was.
Panama Railroad, like his jersey in that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's a special thing. I just thought that was cool. I think
that's really cool. Yeah.
That was just built in 2022. This model. So they're still making these things and still.
Yeah, I'm an avid flight simmer, and with Flight Simulator, you can create your own aircraft. You can, or you can have the people in Fiverr do it who know how to do graphics properly. But it's really cool because a lot of people do create historical aircraft. You see people flying Pan Am planes and Eastern and all that stuff. And there's a railroad version of Flight Simulator. It's Train Simulator, and it's getting to the point now where people can create those things. And I've often thought about that. If I were to get into it like Flight Simulator, it would be cool to recreate the Panama Railroad and then have the trains designed with the old locomotives like they had, the shunting ones that they would have in the yard there by Section I, and then of course the bigger ones pulling the stuff, across the isthmus. But that's really cool, man. It's a historical railroad, man. It's played a major role in the world for 170 years, like you
I
said.
learned about there used to be the Panama Express. I can't remember what it's called. I think I had a slide in there, but
Right.
there was a train. It ran from basically Chicago to New Orleans.
Oh, right on.
The Panama Line, and basically it was to get people down to New Orleans so that they get on a steamship
from the Midwest,
go to Panama, and go across, and then go west and stuff like that. And that thing operated for many years. Even Amtrak, when they acquired the Illinois Central or whatever it was,
right?
had the Panama Line, and the
Sure.
cars all are Panama on it, and the colors were brown and orange like you're seeing on this Panama Railroad.
Sure.
And if you go to Chicago and you ride their Metra, which is a rail in that area, the orange line is Panama orange, and it's in honor
wow.
of that.
That's cool,
It's
man.
one of those things that. How many times have you been to Chicago? I've been on the Metra. I don't know how many other people have been on the Metra.
Sure.
If
And
you
who
look
would think
up
that
thing, you
Chicago
had
would have
no
a
idea.
connection to Panama?
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's the legacy that Panama leaves around the world, and the importance of Panama and the canal and everything even prior to that, and like these railroads and everything prior to that. So that's really cool.
San Francisco with the exposition.
Yeah. Look at Jim. Someone's played that's cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, that's Panama has a great history for all of us, a Zonian history, a Panamanian history, those cross cultures as well. And there's always a great story, man. That's the other thing that makes this show fun is there's always some great story, no matter who it is, and no matter where in the world we are and what era in history, there's always a connection to somebody here, and that's very typical of Zonians. We all do bring that, and as we've learned, and from what we saw with this railroad show, and we've seen it with the canal construction as well, the amount of nationalities that came to build the railroad.
90 of them.
Yeah. So when we do this, next month, when we do this first one on the construction of the Panama Railroad, the initial construction, you'd be amazed at some of the countries that were, and it's funny that certain countries, I guess, maybe were renowned for having this skill set, right? And then so you brought people from that country to do certain things, and there was a lot of countries involved. It was really cool. Panama has always been international, man. It is a crossroads of the world, man. It always has been, and that's
the other interesting thing I saw on the news this week, it was the 200th anniversary of the first passenger train that was created. It was in England.
Wow.
And it's this little train, and I think it went 10 miles an hour.
Isn't that incredible?
But then people are like, wow, let's take this new technology and bring it to America or bring it to France or wherever, and everyone adopted it. They took the train to China, and the dynasty at the time, the emperor said, no, we don't want the Western influence.
It was too much growth.
But that was not really that much longer when they were sending their people out to
build railroads all over the world.
They even came to Panama asking, hey, can we get 3,000 of our people to work on this?
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then they ended up sending 6,000. So but it was kind of amazing that they were not.
Well, to this day, railroads play a major role in economies. The scale of goods that you can move at a fraction of the cost. Obviously, there's limitations on where you can move it to and so forth. But being in the logistics world, it is incredibly cheap to move via railroad, and that's why they were so valuable.
Before we had rich oil men, we had rich railroad men.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed,
barons.
Indeed, we did.
And I think that's where you see now you have to have semi trucks, and you have to have rail and ships. It's all logistics.
It really is. It's what moves things around. We're in a global world where things move around, and things are no longer localized, and so you rely on this stuff. And and they had the foresight to see this back in the 1840s and realize that this is the place to do it, and it's been going on ever since. So, Dave, this was a great prelude to what's to come here over the next few months, which is going to be some really cool railroad history. We may want to invite Nodia to help you out there, or add his color and stuff. And he certainly has a lot of footage as well. But this is going to be really cool, guys, because I can see at least the construction segment of the initial one. The French effort, which probably could be mixed in with canal construction, which that may, like I said, maybe 2 episodes on that one, because there's a lot of involvement there. And then the post canal construction Panama Railroad, what it became, and then, like we learned from Nodier, in the late 80s, early 90s, it kind of fell into disrepair and then kind of was abandoned. And then
Nodier posted a lot of great stuff on there, and everyone else too. I got to thank Canal Zone Images and CZ Bratz and all these guys that are posting stuff. It's all part
great
of the
resources.
Part of the resources to get there. I don't give them enough credit, but
yeah, no, you make it a point to mention every time, and rightly so, because they do. Some people there have gone through a lot of effort to bring that to us and to provide it for us, and the least we can do is say, hey, thank you for providing some great images that give context to all the things we're talking about here. So
if I want to know the facts, I go there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pictures don't lie. Well, now they do, because AI.
I love those pictures.
They didn't
that could be a part of our show, Willie. Just talk about all our resources so people can also have access.
Sure,
to
a big thank you show, and say, hey, listen, and send people there, send some traffic there. These guys put this stuff up there, and they want people to enjoy it. It's not to be secretive and hoard it. It's out there for you guys to enjoy. And there's some, CZ Images. It's just obscene the amount of pictures that are there. But you can get lost in CZ Images just on one page for hours.
Well, not only do they have the picture, they usually have the story behind it too.
Correct. So it's got a very historical narrative behind it.
Who's behind that? Who's behind Canal Zone Images?
Bill
McLaughlin.
Right on, Bill.
Absolutely.
Bill
Bill put it together he is truly a great Zonian. What he's brought, in recent history, and to bring back a lot of that history, it's fantastic. He's done a great job with that, and of course.
Yeah, so you call me a historian, but I look at that site and I say, geez, I'm just learning.
All right. Yeah, well, there's different levels of history, but you certainly are up there.
I'm a historian in the first degree.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll take it here, because it's it really is a lot of fun. And look at this, Steve Ranson, good to see you, bud. And Happy New Year to you. Happy Friday once, nice watching. Yes, Steve still covers a lot of football and sports out in Nevada, so Friday nights is not typically open nights for him. But yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Is SCN still on?
It is. It's still on somewhere. Somewhere it is. So yeah, it's a good show. It's a good historical show. But like we said, guys, you're going to get a lot of Panama Railroad over the next few months, because it's a complicated story. I shouldn't say complicated. It's a complex story. There's more to it than just a gold rush and here's some trains and stuff, and a lot of different roles that the railroad has played over the years, and Dave's going to cover those one section at a time. So, Dave, again, listen, thanks as usual for taking the time to spend it with us and share all your history that you do. I know you put a lot of work into looking that stuff up. I hope you enjoyed the intro there.
Thanks for the intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, long overdue.
I like it, yes.
But anyhow, have yourself a great New Year's, and we will see you beginning of February with some canal construction. Or some Canal Panama Railroad construction, should I say. So, awesome.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Care,
again, great job.
All right, man. That was good, man. That was, we focus a lot on the canal, and the canal gets a lot of the attention, of course, but the railroad really is the one. That was the kicker, I think. Once you saw the viability of the railroad, and you saw that, even back in the 1850s, it was used, and the world recognized now that, hey, Panama's a place not just for Spain and its gold, it's for everybody to move their goods around. Now you really started thinking more seriously about canals, and the viability of it. And you see 30 years later, the French said, hey, let's do it. It's easy.
Right. If the railroad's making that kind of money, imagine what a canal can make, right?
Yeah. So, but that's really cool. To catch up. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Let's get caught up and have you join us again. Steve's a great Zonian. He was my teacher in high school, but he also worked for SCN Canal Zone. So he's got a lot of cool history there. And as we learned last year, he recently went back with his son, who was born down there, and had been down there for the first time since he was born, and then lived down there back in the,
right about this time, because he went there. Was it the week before the reunion?
Yeah, he did. He got there. He didn't realize that the reunion was the week after. He'd already, of course, made his plans and whatnot. So, but I don't think he's going to be in Panama for this one. But I do think he's going to hopefully make it to Orlando. We'll see. Fingers crossed. So we'll definitely try and get out there. Salute, great time. It was a lot of fun. This was the history segments are always fun, and we're trying new things to add some more color to it. And it's still a work in progress. Dave's just an absolute wealth of information, almost too much information, right? And Dave has that passion for it. So, but with these tools now, we can really dial down and get down into some things here. And then, with the AI, we can add some great graphics to it, some great images and narratives, and even some video and stuff that really brings that story to life, so that we can, totally get the full Monty on it. So. Yeah, we're looking forward to what the next one's going to be. That's going to be good stuff here. Don't forget, the guys, that next week, January 9th, we're going to start doing, as we talked about before, we'll start doing some birthdays. The second segment and the last segment of the month, Ricky? Is that how we're going to do it?
That's correct. Yep.
So, that should be a lot of fun. And then again, next week is the anniversary of the of the riots, so we'll be talking about
flag riots.
The flag riots, 1964 riots, however you want to call that. So we'll be definitely talking about that as well. And then hold on, I get this graphics going here. There it is. And then birthdays, riots. What was it? The third
Chinche, que pasa? We got everything.
Dictionary. No. The other one that we forgot to talk about then is going to be our, where is it? Come on, get off the screen there. There you go. Our 2025 year in review. We're talking about all the different shows. We had some cool shows, a lot of good stuff, a lot of great guests out there. So we're looking forward to that as well. But as usual, every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Canal Zone time, and 5 p.m. Pacific. We love having you guys out here to kick the weekends off. So looking forward to it again, as we always do. Thanks again for taking the time, guys, to join us here. Have yourselves an awesome weekend. Ricky, the Chiva, says it's time to get out of here. So get us out of here.
I love my Chiva. Hey, guys, thank you again. We love you from the bottom of our hearts. We do this because of your participation. Thank you so much.
Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend, and Happy New Year, everybody. Not too bad of the timing on that one. And we're off.